It's a different link to what's on my page. So let's let a few people join. Good evening, everybody. Welcome along to the Transfer Show. Special guest joins me this evening as well because Alfie House is here. You will all know Alfie from the Total Saints podcast and the Echo. Alfie, thank you very, very much for joining me this evening. Loads to chat about today because it has been a super busy day at the football club, hasn't it? With Damien Downs finally announced. Was he the striker you were referring to a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, thanks for having me in mind. I'm a keen watcher of his channel, mate. As you know, I'm always in the comments, so I appreciate coming on. But yeah, Damien Downs was the striker who I spoke about a couple of weeks ago with Dragan Solak, and obviously for a number of reasons you can't quite reveal that. And then Sky Germany obviously get there first. But yeah, I don't know what you think, mine, but I think it's an interesting signing, and I'm sure we'll get a bit more into that as the show goes on.
Yeah, no, I think it's an interesting signing. Look, there's a lot of harsh comparisons, I think, with Sekou Mara. A lot of people say, hope he's not Sekou
Yeah,
Mara
I
Mark
think
II.
they're a little
I
bit
think that's
questionable, to be honest.
really harsh comments, aren't they?
I mean, let's be honest, people are only saying that because of physical characteristics. In my opinion, I don't know what other comparison you can make with Sekou Mara. Different countries, different league, different style of player. Sekou was 6 foot and quite passive. Damien is 6'4" and particularly active. A little bit messy with the ball, maybe. Maybe that touch and control is not quite there. But he's 6'4". He's quick and he likes to finish instinctively. Maybe not so great when he has a lot of time to think about it, but. Will Steele's made it quite clear that to the club, I think, and Johannes Spors, that they need players that can sort of, attack the ball, attack crosses, can press from the front, and they believe that Damien Downs fits that bill. So, I think that he's got a lot to prove, but his record of scoring a goal every 164 minutes so far in his career is pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah, have you watched a lot of him? Have you been watching? Obviously, you cover Saints week in, week out, and you want to get your insight, like I always do. Have you been watching loads of videos on Downs?
Yeah, we have a tool called Y Scout, where basically
Okay.
every single touch a player's ever had in their career is available to watch, and that often includes youth games as well. So George, my colleague at the Echo, has watched a lot more Damien than I have, but we've got access to everything he's ever done. So yeah, it's not just sort of YouTube highlights reels, and that's why I say he's maybe a little bit messy with the ball when he comes in deep, because we can see the times where he loses possession as well as just score and stuff like that. But yeah, he's 21 years old. He's got things to improve, obviously.
Yeah, he's young, and we like to go for these young players that
Mm-hmm.
almost feels like a little bit of a gamble, but we still have Ross Stewart at the club. Do you see Downs coming in and being like the out and out striker that he's going to be the preferred choice up front, or do you still think that it's so early to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's too early to say. I don't know. I'm sure Will know and he'll have his ideas, but he hasn't told me that yet. I mean, what I would say is Ross. If Ross can keep fit, he could be the number one, number nine, because ultimately he scores goals at every level. It seems so far. 10 in 13 games for Sunderland in the Championship last time is really good, and he's exactly the sort of profile that Will wants. So I think Will's going to play a 4-2-3-1, I think, personally. He's definitely going to play a forward back. I think that'll be a 4-2-3-1. So I think it'll be those two sort of battling for the number 9 position. And then you've got players like maybe Adam Armstrong, Ben Brereton Diaz, if he's still here. They're sort of battling for that inside forward spot.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by the signing. I'm quite excited by it, to be honest. Watched a bit of him. I still think Ross Stewart has him. Personally, I feel he has a massive part to play next season. I think he looks like when you see the images of him training, you may have seen him in the flesh, but when I see those images of him in training, he's got that smile on his face. He looks lean. He looks hungry. And you can just tell from an image that he looks bang up for it, Ross Stewart.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's had such a torrid time in the last couple of years that any opportunity he gets now, he's going to try and take with both hands. We've spoken to him a couple of times. I can hear myself all of a sudden. Let me just turn that off. Sorry, man, I can hear myself. It's been so difficult for him. He's not had an opportunity to train. He's not had an opportunity to really have a pre-season. So, I think that if he can stay fit, he'll be right up for it. And look, he got that goal against Arsenal as well, which will hopefully set him on sort of good footing. But I believe that Damien, Johannes Spors spoke to us in March. I think one of the things he said was that we want young players that can regenerate quickly, that can play week in, week out. And ultimately, there's 46 games. I think there's 9 on a Tuesday at least. So they're both going to be needed, and it's going to be a lot to ask for Ross to play 46 games. So I think they absolutely definitely needed a striker, and they've got one.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one. The big story today is also around Jack Stevens has got a new contract. He's got a 3-year deal at the club. It's not gone down particularly well in the fan base. I'm actually quite pleased by it. I'm not disappointed by it. How do you feel about the deal for Jack Stevens?
Yeah, look, I think I can understand both sides of the coin. From the club's point of view, he's their captain. You know, I don't think that's going to change. I mean, maybe we'll come up with a different idea, but it seems like he's going to remain their club captain. He was in the last year of his contract. They didn't really want their captain in a position like that, so it sort of makes sense to give him a new deal. It's a tough one, isn't it? Because I know he's got the red cards last season, and that will be the stick that people beat him with. The silly red card against Chelsea, particularly, but also getting an extra 2 or 3 match ban by abusing the referee when he got sent off against United. They are low moments, and obviously I think Jack will know that as well. But I think they're a better team when he plays. If I'm being honest, I think if you look at the record they've had in the last 2 seasons, I don't know if it marries up or not. But I think they look more assured when he plays. He is capable of having a bad game. He is capable of having a really good game. But he is the skipper. It's a big deal. 3 years. It's a long time. He's got to prove to fans that he earns it. I guess that he deserves it. But nobody's going to try more than him. Nobody genuinely cares about the club more than him. And I think you do need, when you're buying players like Joshua Kwasi, 20 years old, Damien Downs, 21 years old. You're trying to fit all these young lads into a team. You do need someone like Jack. You do need someone like Adam Lallana in the dressing room who has that experience, who knows what the club is all about. And everybody said to me, "Oh, ask Will Steele, what's it going to be like when they play Pompey? Does he know how important it is when they play Pompey? Does he know how important it is they have to beat Pompey?" Well, Jack Stevens has already said to us that he's thought about it a million times in his head. He knows how important it is. You've got a bloke in the dressing room who will tell the players how important it is. And I think that's got to be worth something. But ultimately, he has to earn it on the pitch. He has to play enough games to make it worthwhile. He has to be performance-wise good enough. And, we'll have to see if that is the case.
Yeah, I guess with a young manager and Will Steele coming in, he's going to need people around him with experience, with leadership. And that's kind of where Jack where I feel he comes in, that he is so good in and around the dressing room. He almost probably play a bigger role off the pitch than maybe on it.
Yeah, but as I said, I think they're a better team when he plays. Or certainly in the last 24 months, I think they've been better with him. He obviously played all 3 of the Championship playoff games. And, remember what Russell Martin was asking him to do? Sort of playing left back, rolling into midfield and all this sort of stuff, the Cornish Maldini sort of role. And that's a lot to ask of a player like Jack. And I thought he actually did okay with it. When he's just got to play the game simply in front of him, he's probably going to be even better. So, yeah, I think I understand both sides of the coin. I understand why people are saying it's not worth a 3-year contract, it's too much, or he's already 31 or whatever. But I also see the club side of it. I understand why they've done it. That's my thoughts.
I've got some of Jack's statistics out, so I'm going to pop them up on the screen. Feel free to talk over them as well. I've had a look at some basic statistics from the Championship campaign, how many games he played, and also had a look at his Premier League campaign. So this is his Premier League campaign from last season. He played the 19 games in it. He had quite a high pass accuracy of 92%. The 2 red cards, but also got 2 yellow as well. The 2 red cards were stupid, Alfie, weren't they? The pair of them, certainly the Cucurella one.
I mean, I think we're all quite harsh about that after, because it was a moment where his manager really needed him. It was getting towards the end, wasn't it? And they could have done that. And you knew the second he was sent off for something as silly as that, it was going to be an absolute bloodbath. So he let the club down there, he let himself down, he let his manager down. But I think he knows that. He's not an idiot. I'd be amazed if he does something like that again.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like the aerial duels he won, he didn't win loads last season, where he had a far better record in the Championship. We'll have a look at his Championship statistics as well. He got a lot more yellow cards though in the Championship though. Here they are. He got the 7 yellow cards. Played more games. Played 23 games. A similar pass accuracy. To be fair, his passing is not bad. Plays a lot of 5 and 6 yard passes though. You look at the aerial duels one, a lot higher, like 90% of his aerial duels he won. So, and again, like you said, Alfie, he played in a totally different position for so many different games in the Championship. He'd never played as an out-and-out centre-back for large parts of that season.
Yeah, I've just had a look, and they only lost 3 games that he played in the Championship last season when they were there. And that's out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... 8, 9, 10, 11 losses, I think. So they only lost 3 games he started. They lost another 8 without him. how much does that mean? Who knows? But yeah, I think that he's going to be a perfectly serviceable Championship player. I understand the argument of they go back up to the Premier League next season, obviously, and then in 2 years' time, is Jack still at that level? Or some people would argue he's not at that level now. So I get it, but it was something that I wasn't angry about.
Yeah, no, I'm not angry about it. I want to talk about the next story that's been around for the last couple of days, and I don't know if you've got any snippets you might be able to bring us, but Sam Edozie seems like he's creating a little bit of interest outside the club now. Reports that Rangers have had a bid. There's just reports that they've had a bid rejected for him. Have you heard anything about a potential bid for Sam Edozie?
No, I don't have anything on that personally. Clearly, there's no reason to doubt that the BBC reported that Rangers have had a bid accepted. The only thing I had is that there have been no talks with Club Brugge at this point. So Club Brugge might well be interested, but I was told on categorical terms they hadn't been negotiating. So that was obviously reported a couple of days ago. I think the thing with Sam is that it's been the same all along. They always wanted to wait for him to come back to pre-season, have a look at him, have a look if he's developed a bit of muscle, a bit of meat on him, and that sort of finishing touch that they felt he had before he got injured. So if you go back and look at the Championship last season, he scored like 5 goals in like a space of a couple of months in the Championship. He was on fire, and then he got injured by a really bad tackle, I think, against Norwich. I might be right, or something like that. Yeah. And he came back and was never really the same player. They wanted him just to find that spark again while he was out in Anderlecht. And obviously they may have made that assessment now a week into pre-season, but I'd like to give him a couple of games. I'd like to give him a couple behind closed doors games at least before deciding to sell him. I think on the left wing right now he's their best option. Don't get me wrong, it's fairly slim pickings because his competition is Ryan Fraser and Ben Brereton Diaz. But out of the 3, I would like Sam Edozie. The flip is he's the only one out of the 3 that you'd probably be able to sell for 10 million quid or whatever. So I get that as well. But yeah, I'd like to have a look at Sam first.
I feel we're so light out wide. There's not loads of options. You spoke about Brereton, Diaz, Adam Armstrong. Potentially, he could end up being sold in this window. Ryan Fraser didn't play any part last year at all, did he? Cameldean's already gone. So those options out wide are really limited, aren't they?
I think they have to loan somebody in that position. I know that Dragan said to me that they weren't going to rely on sort of loan players this time in the Championship, but he did also say that might be one of the positions where they maybe do. And I think that's just because you can get value there. You look at the David Brooks signing in January last time. You wouldn't be able to buy a player like David Brooks, but they might become available. So yeah, they've definitely got to add. And at the moment, I guess you would say that they've got Tyler Dibbling, Adam Armstrong on the right. So I mean that's fine. You don't need to do anything with that. That's perfect. If either of them go, you need to replace them. And I think that'll be the same on the left. If either Sam Edozie or Ben Brereton Diaz go, you definitely need to replace them. Arguably, you might need to buy one anyway. But it wasn't one of the positions that, if you remember, Dragan said they were looking at, which was centre-back, Joshua Kwasi, obviously striker, Damien Downs, and the next one was a creative midfielder. And I guess that's just because in a 4-2-3-1, you've got Matty Fernandez, number 10. You haven't really got any backup for Matty. You could say Will Smallbone, but he's not really a 10, so I wouldn't. So I think that's probably the next on the list.
Yeah, there's a bit of talk around Joe Aribo this week. A lot of people forget about Joe Aribo, that the reports that they would potentially cash in now. He's in the final year of his contract. Do you think Joe Aribo will be sold in this window, like your gut feeling?
I think you're spot on. I mean, it makes the most sense. He's got a year left on his deal. He's a good player, Joe. Nice guy, good character, good trainer. But, a year left, it probably makes sense to get a few million quid for him and replace him, I would say.
Yeah, it'd be somebody to move on. I've actually, I grabbed a tweet off of, I think it was Saints Statistics, of players out of contracts. We'll pop it on the screen, actually, because it's worth looking at. All the players, I think he's covered everybody, but he did tweet me this the other day. This is all the players that have got contracts ending in 2026. Amar Bella-Kotchap, we expected him to probably go in this window. Will Smallbone's contract's out. Rebo's, Ross Stewart, Ryan Fraser, James Breed, Charlie Taylor, Alex McCarthy. Do you see many of those going in this window, Alfie, with the year remaining on them? Or
I think Amar Bella-Kotchap, definitely. I would say Will Smallbone probably not. Ross Stewart probably not. Ryan Fraser probably not, because no one's going to pay his wages. James Bree, probably not. Charlie Taylor, maybe. Alex Carthy, probably not. So out of those, not too many. I mean, Bella Kotchap, they're obviously desperate to get rid of, but they're not going to let him go for free, which is what somebody in Germany reported a couple of days ago. And that's just not true. They're not going to do that. They've already, obviously, they've had their hand bitten, I guess, a couple of times with Armel, but they do want to get rid of him. They do want to make some money off him as well, obviously. I mean, I wouldn't really be looking to force any of the rest of them out the door. And obviously, I'll keep Will personally. Obviously, keep Ross. I mean, Ryan Fraser would be nice to move on, I guess, but that's probably not realistic. And James Bree, Charlie Taylor, yeah. What do you think, Mine?
Well, I'm interested what happened to Ryan Fraser. I've got to be honest because he played such a small part last season. The sending off against Leicester. I think he played down at Brighton. I can't remember him playing after the Brighton game. Not by memory. I would need to go back and look at.
Yeah, for that second half of the season, someone said to me that he was injured. He wasn't injured. He was fully fit for most of the second half of the season, but for whatever reason, he wasn't selected. He was always training. He was always available. He was quite often the sort of spare man. In football, they always bring a spare man who isn't part of the squad. For Ryan Fraser was regularly sort of involved in that, but never quite picked for whatever reason.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he plays any part this season. I'm still not sure what they'll do with Charlie Taylor, where Charlie Taylor will stay. Juan Larios has gone out on loan. I had that on the screen, actually. He's gone out on loan, isn't he? Is that just a loan with Larios till midway point of the season, so January, or is that a full season?
Well, I don't know, man. I don't know. I didn't check that. I don't think. Did it say it was a mid-season loan?
Well, I think they said to the end of the year. They mean the end of the season,
or the end of the year then, and that would be the end of his contract as well, Juan. I think.
Will it?
So
okay.
Yeah, I would have thought that would be the end of Juan Larios at Southampton. I mean, it's ultimately there's not much he can do about that, is there? He's just been injured so many times. He obviously played for them in 21s. Like the end of last season, he's back fit and that. But I think it's just a case of good luck. Try and get a club, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, no, definitely. The Paul Inuachu deal, is that actually finalised? The club announced that they'd accepted terms with Trabzonspor, but at Trabzonspor, when I looked the other day, I couldn't see any announcement anywhere that it had actually been done and dusted. Is that over the line, or is it?
I think it is done. Yeah, I mean, there's pictures of him in the airport with a Trabzonspor shirt, so I think it probably is done by this point. Yeah, but I don't know if the club will say any more about it. Their final point was, we've agreed a deal. Let's just move on, because I think we're all bored of the reports about him.
Yeah, it's rumbled on since that window that he was signed. It's rumbled on since then, really. Every single window since we've tried to sell him. So it's finally done and dusted. Areas that are obviously going to need strengthening. I think Dragon spoke about that creative midfielder. Is there anything close that you've heard about a creative midfielder coming in at this moment?
No, I've not got information. If I had information of mine, I would obviously report it myself. I don't know about this midfielder. So
be interesting to see who comes in. It's definitely an area to look at. That is for sure. I'm excited about next season, like really excited about it. How are you feeling for it? Are you excited for another campaign? We get to see Will Steele's first game as a Saints manager this weekend down at Eastleigh. I'm buzzing for it. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Like I said, Eastleigh this weekend and a couple behind closed doors games, and then I'll be going out to Girona, obviously, for the pre-season training camp as well. Try and bring everybody some insight from behind the scenes. I'm more confident this time than I was last time. I feel they've got the second best squad in the league, which they should have. I don't think there's going to be a desperate need to sell too many players. Obviously, the likes of Howard Bellis, Ramsdale, Matty Fernandez, and Tyler Dibden, I wouldn't bet my house on any of them being here. But I just feel that they've got a really good squad, and the big crux here is Will Steele. I like Will Steele. I like the way he speaks about the game. I like the sort of stuff he said about how he's going to manage Saints in terms of being versatile, being compact defensively. He said that he wants his players to defend as if their lives depend on it. And he said, I don't like possession for possession's sake. And he said that unprompted. He wasn't asked about Russell Martin, anything like that. It wasn't a subtext. But I think he just genuinely means we want to attack, and then defend when we need to. And I think that's music to people's ears at St Mary's after some of the sort of quite divisive styles we've had. I don't want to sort of nail my colours to the mast, but I do believe that they'll be going for the title, or they'll be going for automatic promotion this time.
Yeah,
but you never know what's going to happen, do you, Martin? And the start of the season will be so important. Going to Ipswich away on the second day is unbelievable. I mean, what a game that's going to be. I'm looking forward to that.
And also, I was thinking the other day, like the derby, the first derby, the one in September, so close to the window closing, because the window would have closed a week or so before, and you're hoping the squad's now down by then, and business is done and dusted. But if it was anything like it was last year, it stretched right up until September, and I feel the derby's too early personally.
Well, the club said to me a couple of weeks ago, we're serious. Johannes Smalls is serious this time. We are not going to be doing deals on the last few days of the window. And I thought, well, that's great, but I'd like to see that in action, because ultimately, it's sometimes you have to. If you need to sell a certain player and an offer doesn't come in until the last day of the window, then ultimately you have to do that, because you need to balance the books, or other players, they don't say yes to the club until they don't know anybody else who's coming for them. So they wait and they wait and they wait, and then on the last day they go, all right, I'll join Saints. And that's just obviously fans don't want to hear that, but that is just the nature of it. That's what happens in football. But that being said, they had an offer for Stuart Armstrong on the September 2023 in the championship last time. Yeah. And that came in the last sort of 2 or 3 hours of the window. And I think that, Stu was quite open to the idea. He wanted to go, and he knocked on the manager's door and said that this has come in, what's happening. But at that time, I think Saints were travelling up, the officials were travelling up in the car on the way to Sunderland. And they just said no, they shut the phones off. They just switched the phones off, said, good offer, sounds good, but no, we're not doing anything this late. So if they can just do that a couple of days earlier or a couple of weeks earlier this season, and actually genuinely turn everything else down, then we should be quite settled by the derby. But yeah, I agree. It does come early in the season. I think it's going to be absolute fireworks.
Yeah, no, I do. I think it'll be fireworks. I'm looking forward to next season. Alfie, you said just a minute ago you're heading on the pre-season camp next week. When does it all kick off? Let everybody know when it all kicks off. How we can keep in touch with you. Obviously, I'll be following you on X. Shout out where you'll be and how we can keep in touch.
Yeah, cool. Well, obviously they're travelling on Monday, the 21st of July, which is my partner's birthday. So I couldn't quite swing that with her. That would be
happy birthday to your partner.
Yeah, so I'm going up at stupid o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, so I'll be there sort of midday. But yeah, I'll obviously bring in sort of exclusive interviews, behind the scenes coverage, training videos, pictures, reports, and that'll all be on the Daily Echo for our subscribers, which I really appreciate. And you can also follow me on X at Alfie House Echo for anything on there, and ping me a load of questions and stuff as well. Ping me anything to do, because I'll be out there in the sun enjoying it. So give me some work to do.
Yeah, no, it'd be brilliant. Make sure you go follow Alfie. I will leave all his details in the show notes once this live show's finished. Alfie, got a couple of questions before you go. We're wrapping things up now. It's been a brilliant show. Loved having you come on and give us a little bit of an insight. It's brilliant to talk to you. Somebody asked a minute ago, I think it was Sassy asked, what's the point of behind closed doors pre-season friendlies? Well, I know my answer, but I'll let you answer that one.
Yeah, I think it's a shame for fans, isn't it, ultimately, because they want to. We've got 2 pre-season games this year, isn't it? We've got Eastleigh and Brighton, and they're the only 2 games I think you can go to. I think it's just, there's a couple of things. Number one, it's a controlled environment, and you know who's going to be there. You know it's going to be quiet. You can relax a little bit more. You can be sort of share information tactically and things. I guess it's controlled. Number two is it's a lot easier if you organise a game and you say that. Right, we're kicking off at 2:00, and fans buy tickets to a game that kicks off at 2:00. They expect it to kick off at 2:00. Whereas if you have a game that you're organising behind closed doors and the only people who know about it are the 2 teams, and you say we're going to kick off at 2:00, actually on the morning of, you go, actually, let's kick off at 10 a.m. You can do that. You can change it, you can flexible stuff. So I think it just makes it easier for the club. But I totally agree that I think fans should be able to come. It's what makes it fun. I think in Turkey a couple of years ago, it was an amazing time just sort of speaking to Saints fans who were there and trying to speak to some Turkish fans who obviously didn't understand the word of my 100-mile-an-hour rambles. I didn't understand the word of theirs either. But the atmosphere was what it was all about. So, yeah, it is a shame.
Yeah, no, it is a massive shame. Final one for you, Alfie, before you go. Stuart Dunn has put this in the chat below. With Sheffield Wednesday's current situation, is it worth looking at bringing Shay Charles' little brother Pierce, who's a promising young goalkeeper? It could be good backup and one for the future. I've seen him play. He is a good goalkeeper. I'm not convinced we'll go for him. Do you think it could be an option?
I don't know. I'd probably be guessing if I said I was, but I mean, they're probably going to have to buy one, I think. I got a lot of stick on X the other day, actually, for saying I think if they get stuck with Alex McCarthy as number one, then
It
I
wouldn't
think
be the end
that's
of the
not too
world.
bad. I think
Yeah,
it's
it
not too
wouldn't be the
bad.
end of, no,
He
it
doesn't
wouldn't be
have
the
to
end of
play
the
with his
world.
feet too much. He's a good shot stopper, he's experienced and all this sort of stuff. But I do think if Ramsdale goes, they'll have to replace him, and maybe why not Pierce Charles? But I don't know. It's just pure pie in the sky sort of stuff, isn't it? The thing that's interesting with Sheffield Wednesday, though, you know, I've seen Danny Roll is going back to work now. He hadn't returned for pre-season, but he's now going back with his tail between his legs. I think he's made a real sort of pig's ear situation.
Yeah, he's not handled it actually very well, I don't think,
No.
personally. I don't think he's handled it too well. He's made himself look quite young. He's quite young as a manager, but yeah, he's not conducted himself very, very well at all. And he's obviously struggled to get a job elsewhere, which.
And he definitely would have
quite a
thought he
lot.
would have done. Yeah, he definitely thought he would have got a job somewhere else. I think obviously Saints would have gone for him had it not been quite so complicated with Chansiri probably. But I'm happy with where we've ended up. I think Will Steele's interesting. He's just got to. I think just Will's just got to get the players on side, and he's got to sort of get them believing in him because he is quite, he's quite quiet. He can be quite fierce. I think we've seen on the videos, but he is quite laid back and quiet, and he's not a professional footballer. So everybody he's training is a better player than he is or ever will be. But he clearly has good ideas. He's got a good record as a manager. He just needs to get them all on side, get them believing in what he's doing, and make it enjoyable for them, I guess. And it seems like he's doing that.
It was something that Russell struggled to do by the sounds of things last season, sort of like certainly not long before his sack. It was almost like I think he was probably struggling to get the players to really believe to keep doing 100%. The same thing.
And I don't think that's even his fault necessarily. It's just ultimately they got battered every single week, and they kept on giving the ball away to the striker. They kept on passing it to the midfielder and conceding goals. And he was all about evidence and, like you said, making the players believe what they were doing was right, showing them all the good bits, showing them all this sort of stuff. But there's only so many times as a player you can probably sit there and watch a brilliant pass that you made, and then look at the record and go, actually, we've been beaten 14 out of 15 games. So I think that's what was so hard for him.
Yeah, no, it was a tough one. I hope he does well at Rangers. I wish him all the best. I think
they've got some massive games, mate. You've seen the Champions League qualifiers they've got?
No. Who do they have?
They've got Panathinaikos in like 2 weeks' time. And I just think it could be a bloodbath, but hopefully, like you said, they'll be on the right side of it.
I'll be watching Rangers closely now just to see how he does. And I hope it works out for him. I really do. I really do. Alfie, it's been brilliant to get you on tonight. Thank you so much for your time. It's been the best half an hour with you here on the channel. We will get you back on if you get a spare moment after the preseason camp. It'd be great to get you back on. And make sure everybody go follow Alfie. Keep an eye on his updates over the preseason camp, which kicks off after this weekend. So yeah, very much looking forward to that. Take care, everybody, and we will see you again very soon.
Awesome.